Hello, everybody. Welcome. I am really excited to be here today with two of my clients, Megan Pritchett and Mandy Thomas. Welcome, welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely. So fun. Okay, so these are two of my current clients in the Real Momentum program, and I wanted to invite them on to talk about their businesses today, their experience, how entrepreneurship is going in general. So before we dive in, I'd love for you guys to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and the work that you do. Megan, do you want to start us?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Pritchett, and I'm located in Denver, Colorado, originally from California. And I'm a career coach, and my business is Career Dork LLC. So I'm a career coach by day and by night. I'm a full-time career coach as well. And I've had my business for 2 years prior to joining Real Momentum and really wasn't doing anything to grow it at all, and found that I was ready to take that next step. And that's what led me to join the program, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. But yeah, I've got my master's in career counseling. I really just love career work. And what I do is I help women who are career changing find the confidence and clarity and the strategy to take their next career step. So that's a little bit about what I do and how entrepreneurship I've got bit by the bug, I guess.
I love that description of it. That's awesome. Mandy, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Mandy Thomas. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, by way of Texas from Ohio. I actually had a previous career. I spent over 20 years in the oil and gas industry. I have a degree in geology and a master's in project management. And I chose to leave the industry to follow my dream and create a business in professional organizing. So my company is Rethink Organization. I'm based here in the South Hills of Pittsburgh, but I can work virtually with people as well. So I have clients in various locations. I have two main service lines: residential organizing and photo management, photo organizing. I started my business at the end of COVID, really, as part of a pandemic dream. I realized life is short and I didn't want to spend my whole life doing something that I didn't absolutely love. But entrepreneurship did not and does not come naturally to me. I am very much set in corporateness and have been working for a year to get out of that. And I'm enjoying it. There are lots of elements of being an entrepreneur that give you so much freedom. And so I'm never going to do anything else. I'm going to make this work. So that's where Rachel has really come in to help me a lot, is to about that. But that's what I do. Glad to be here today.
Beautiful. You know, I really want to talk about that actually, because the transition between the corporate culture and the entrepreneurial culture that we are in can be very steep. Can you tell us a little bit about how that's been for you, Mandy? And I know that was a big one for you as we started our work together. Tell us what that looked like and sort of what you were experiencing like before we even got into our work.
Yeah, like I said, I was over 20 years delivering on somebody else's vision. And so I got very used to SMART goals, annual goals. I'd have managers that would check in with me that I could go to and say, am I still on the right track? Should I be focusing somewhere else? But that really grinded on me. I have two kids and a husband, and they're growing up. The kids are growing up, and they're going to be moving away at some point. And so I really wanted more freedom in my life. And I am very passionate about my work. I actually bought my first book, How to Be a Professional Organizer, when I was on maternity leave with my first child. So that was 16 years ago. I've thought about doing this, and I didn't have the courage, that's a COVID silver lining, that I wanted to do this for myself. But the transfer from corporate, from the daily grind of not necessarily clicking a time sheet, but definitely being accountable to somebody else for my time. It's a completely it has been very unsettling for me to know all the things that I having to learn how to be accountable only to myself. And I'm very confident about what I do. The skills and the work is not the issue. It's the running of the business. It's
Yeah, I think we're getting cut off there for a second.
important to me.
Yeah, so you were getting cut off there for a second, but Megan, I know that that's something that we had talked about as well with you, is sort of this feeling of confidence within your expertise, but not necessarily feeling as confident on the business side. You know, you had been working on your business in some small capacity for 2 years, but how did you get to this point where you felt like, okay, now is the time, and sort of take the leap?
Mhm. Yeah, well, I resonated so much with what you were saying, Mandy, about delivering on someone else's vision. And as sort of a people pleaser, a student, like I'm really good at that. And so that piece of self-confidence, like I always had some sort of, now that I look back, I can see the seeds of like wanting to do my own thing, wanting to be creative, wanting to have that creative control over my work has always been a consistent theme. And so for me, I had a full-time job transition last year, and in both my current job and my last job, I remember just looking at the trajectory, like if I stayed here, looking at the leadership rungs, how would I be promoted? What would that look like? And looking at the day-to-day work of my supervisors and those leadership teams. And I look at those things and I said, nope. I just like knew in my gut, I was like, that doesn't feel right to me. Like, I don't want to do that kind of work. So actually, I mean, I don't mean this in a negative sense, but I've kind of just come to realize this almost like entrepreneurship by crossing off all these other things that I don't want has been sort of a part of the journey. And now I've been more actively embracing it, as opposed to, well, this is the one option that's left of what could fulfill me. But a lot of that confidence piece has been huge, of just trusting in myself and believing in myself. And it's easy and I love our group too, because it's easy for me to look at Mandy and say, oh my gosh, Mandy, like you read that book 16 years ago. You're so like, you know so much more about digital photo organizing than I do, right? Like I would hire you to do this. Like we can look at each other from the outside with so much more clarity and without all that mind drama as we talk about. So it's been really helpful to sort of dissect that and challenge that thinking more in this program. But really, I just got to the point where I just knew I would regret it if I never tried. And knowing that the risk and the investment of the time and, the money and the effort and the heart that I wanted to put into this, I just knew if I didn't try it, I looked at who I would be in a year or 5 years, and I'd wonder like what could have happened if I'd really truly tried to make this happen. So
yeah, that is such a powerful idea, is like the thought of who would I be had I not gone down this path, had I not pursued that passion that I've been harboring for 16 years or however long it's been. That's really a magical moment when you just said that. Thank you for sharing that. How do you think making this commitment to yourself that like now is the time for the business, Mandy, has really affected how you've shown up for yourself and for your business?
In every way, it has made my life as a parent, my life as a wife, my life as a worker better, because I am literally able to create what I want and create that vision. And where I have always been an incredibly, like Megan said, the A student, the achiever, I always thought I was a really fast thinker, and embracing the thought that when it's just me, it's going to take, I need to allow myself to think about things and journal about things and go on walks with nothing but a thorny little problem that I need to walk away from. And by the time I get back from my walk, I have the answer. Things like that just make my life, and I think myself, better. It's just more fun. And it isn't that I don't have other options. It's that those other options just really pale in comparison to the ability to finally do this. And it's scary. I'm not going to say it's not scary. And I have the luxury really of having a husband that's able to support us and keep us in our insurance and all those kinds of practical things. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this. And I come home from working with clients or working on something here in my office, and I just love what I do. I love my job. For the first time in my life, I really love my job.
That's so beautiful. That's really a wonderful place to be, and something I'm so glad you shared.
Megan,
what are your Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on that? Like, you made this commitment to yourself, you signed up for Real Momentum. How has that really affected the way that you've shown up for yourself and your business?
Yeah, so many different ways. I think like Mandy, it's really touched a lot more areas in my life than I was maybe expecting. I think showing up for myself with the business and doing this has really, well, one, I think there's actually like an internal sense of relief and peace because I've been wanting to do it for so long that I think now that I've seen myself take action and actually working on it, there's a part of me that's really at peace, like knowing I'm working on it and it's not just this sort of unresolved question mark in my mind and my heart. So that's just one thing, just in general, like it just feels really good to be able to know that I'm doing something. And know that I'm making progress toward what I want. But I think how I've shown up, one is just the accountability and the consistency. I think before I didn't really have a clear vision of like who my ideal client was, what my offer was. Like I knew as a career coach, like I can help people get jobs, right? But that's not specific enough to market yourself. And so really leaning into and getting more clarity through discussions and coaching around like, who am I uniquely in this equation? Like, how am I different from another career coach you would find on LinkedIn? And how do I lean into what I want to do best? So that way I'm energized when I'm doing it. And then my clients feel like they're getting the unique, specific help that they need. That's really proven to be true in the last 2 months, just how I've changed my marketing and how I'm approaching. But I really just have shown up, not even with more time per week, like I'm still spending about the same amount of time, but just I'm more intentional with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and I feel more prepared to deal with all the like thoughts that come up along the way that normally before I'd be like, oh, I don't want to like pitch myself on LinkedIn because blah, 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 like all those fears and things like that. I feel like I have more weapons, for lack of a better word, to sort of fight those things off. But I feel like I've really shown up more in a lot of different ways. But like Mandy was saying, it's really affected. And also too, like I do this kind of coaching with my clients. So it's sort of this meta experience where I also just take it really seriously that if I'm going to model what it looks like to find a career that you love, like I have to model that as well and really challenge my own beliefs in the process too. So it's just been a really beautiful sort of relationship between my work and the coaching work we've done together.
Yeah, that's neat. And you brought up something else that I think is so important. A lot of people fear this idea that they're like, well, I want to start my own business, but they're like a dime a dozen, right? Like how many career coaches are out there? How many business coaches are out there? How many therapists are out there? And at the end of the day, what I teach and what I really try to impart and share with my students and invite them to embrace is this idea that there's only you, right? There's only you, Megan, as the career coach. There's only Mandy in this role as professional organizer, and there's nobody else who can do it your way. And so I actually think like one of the most beautiful things about my job and being on sort of the side that I'm on is watching each of my students embrace that and really get comfortable stepping into their own authority and genius in that space as who they are, and really celebrating that and owning that in a way that I think relieves a lot of the pressure of sales and marketing, because if you're just showing up and being you and offering that, like it's going to resonate with your people and it won't be for the other people, and that's okay. So it sounds like, you know, that's something that has really come up for you sort of at this stage of your journey. And I love seeing that and hearing that.
And I mean, yeah, just to elaborate more, I think that definitely has come up. Like, well, there's all these other career coaches out there in my industry. Like, what makes me different? Why would I be different? And so factually, I have to remember, like, no, I do have qualifications to do this, right? I've got a master's degree in this. I've been working full time in this industry. So that's just in my example. Like, I can point to this. And when I've gotten thank you notes from students in my work that say, hey, I got the job, or I got the internship, or I started getting callbacks. And it's really just, again, how I perceive myself. And like, sure, in some instances, it is good to be aware of like where we need to grow, where we still need to develop. But I just, it's part of that mindset piece that's been so important, is thinking it's not a zero-sum game, that if me and all those other career coaches are out there, it's not as if there's only so much pie to go around. And I can support a career coach that's doing great work on their behalf. Like, there's space for everyone, and
Absolutely.
that has to include myself. And yeah, it's a weird mindset shift, but it's been really fun to feel like, no, I deserve a space in this. And that confidence then sort of attracts, I think, the right clients to you, because then they feel that you know that you belong.
Absolutely. Do you think you had that confidence before you started Real Momentum?
I think I've been doing a lot of personal work too in therapy, to be transparent, too, around confidence. And so this dovetailed really nicely with that personal work I was doing. I've always been perceived as very confident in my professional life, put together, all these things. So I had it wasn't that I was completely insecure about my work or what I did. I think it was relying on the confidence of an employer to validate and say, yes, we're hiring you for this role, so therefore the work you do is valuable. It was a whole nother step in confidence to say, no, I trust myself to charge more for this, to have total control, and say, I'm really fully the one on the hook to deliver on this vision and this promise that I'm making and offer to my clients. Like, that was like the confidence step that I feel like I've been taking with Real Momentum, is building off the confidence I already had through traditional 9-to-5 work. But saying, no, if they're validating me to do this too, like, that's giving me more evidence to say, no, I really can do this fully.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that that's like sort of the model, right? Is that all of our experiences layer upon each other to sort of create who we are and how we show up. And so that's great that you're getting that input from several different sources and sort of on this journey in that way. Mandy, let's talk about this concept of being ready, because a lot of people say, I just don't feel like I'm ready, and I would love to hear from you. What does it mean to be ready? And did you feel ready when you stepped out and you said, okay, now's the time, I'm going to do this, and you joined Real Momentum?
So I think absolutely I didn't feel ready. And unlike Megan, I'm in a completely different industry. So I knew what I wanted, and I knew my personal skills, and I knew the books I'd read, but actually being out in that climate and selling myself doing that, I had a lot of confidence issues that I really was competent to do this. So I had to do a bit of practice with that. But there's I have a couple Post-it notes that I keep on my computer monitor here. One of them says, do it scared. And one of them says, do it anyway. Right? Because the other thing I really had to fight with is perfectionism, right? I'm a recovering perfectionist. And in the corporate world, making mistakes is not encouraged, right? Because you're there trying to make money for the man, right? The stockholder, the manager, whatever, right? Now, that's something I've really learned from Real Momentum, is that mistakes not only are needed, they're encouraged. You have to try things. You have to do things that aren't going to work. And that went against every instinct that I had developed in corporate life, right? So I definitely wasn't ready for that, but I think I was smart enough to realize that I wasn't going to get there without asking for help. And luckily, not only did I not fight that very long at all. I mean, I filed my LLC in November of 2020, and I think I met Rachel in February of 2021. And so, I mean, I had an infancy, knew nothing about what I was doing. And I have learned so much through the process. And now in this cohort this year, I'm really digging in with all these things that I feel like I wish I had known a year ago, right? I fight with that all the time. If I'd only known X, Y, or Z, well, that's not what matters. What matters is what I know now. What matters is that I have resource and I have a community that I can say, I don't know what I'm doing. And nobody's going to tell me what to do, but they're definitely going to provide options and things to think about, or areas to journal about, or whatever and that are going to, and time again, I might not have started ready, but I became ready by walking through the process. And sometimes I just have to do it scared. I just have to do it knowing that it might not work, and do it anyway, right? So I wish I never made mistakes, but I'm happy to say that the mistakes I've made have all been related to my business and not helping my clients, right? Like they're all like, if I could just work with clients and not have to worry about running the business part, I probably wouldn't make any money, but I'd be very happy. So
Those are two really good mantras to hold. Do it scared and do it anyway. I love those. Really good. Anything else you want to add on that, Megan?
No, I just resonate with that a lot. Like there was definitely a piece of me that was like, here we go, like let's do it. I think for me, like when I've thought back to like big decisions I've made in my life, it's never that the fear is gone. It's just that like I'm 51% more like, let's do this. And it's the 49% like, I don't know. But I really just more logically, like, again, I knew I had the seed of the dream of the business in my heart. So like that felt confident, even though that was secondary. So logically, I also had to say to myself, I mean, just thinking about the financial investment in Real Momentum, like I had made about that amount in my 2 years of business so far. And so in my mind, the way I was thinking about readiness, I was like, okay, well, I've already made this amount on my own approximately. So almost like worst case scenario, right? I had to sort of play that out in my mind. I was like, worst case scenario, like I don't make a dime while I'm doing this. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Like that won't happen. But I was like, even if I do, like I'll have 6 months to like get to know incredible women, receive coaching, and that alone would be valuable. So for me, it was rethinking about the investment of time and money and effort as being additive to myself and like investing in myself and my business and my dream, as opposed to like subtractive, like, oh, I'm not going to have this anymore. And I've already more than made it up with the work. And so I think that as I started to see traction really early that first month from what we were talking about and teaching, like it's just continued to build the confidence that like it was the right decision. And similar to Mandy, I'm like, oh man, I could have like done this a little earlier, but that doesn't serve me at all to linger on that. But I'm really glad I'm doing it now and stepping into that. So yeah, that relationship is just got to be a little bit more curious than afraid.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I also like that you shared this idea of like giving yourself grace. You said it in different terms, but giving yourself grace and sort of not punishing yourself for past decisions, right? Each of you mentioned that, like having wanted to do it earlier, I could have done it sooner, whatever, but you didn't, and it's okay. And for anyone who's watching this or listening and feeling like, yeah, I should have, it's okay. Like let's put that to rest and move forward with those dreams, these passions, these exciting visions that you have. But I think that that's a really important concept for people to learn, because I think we do a lot of sort of like punishing ourselves for what has happened in the past. And like you said, it just doesn't serve. I'm super excited to talk about your growth and wins in a moment. But before we get to that, Real Momentum is a trifecta of coaching, community, and a course. Can you share a little bit about the value of that three-pronged approach that we have in the program and how it has supported you and your vision? I know you've touched on it a little bit, but just want to invite you to share anything else about that trifecta that might make sense at this point.
I'll dig in first, unless Mandy you'd like to. So I think for me, the three parts of the program really meet different needs that I have in this journey. I would say that the weekly coaching sessions being more sort of drop in, like there's not a strict agenda. I think that's been really helpful for sort of that weekly accountability and mindset work of like, oh, like I have this client, like I'm feeling really nervous, like having a space to talk about that together in real time, approximately. We have our chat as well. So that's even more, for really time sensitive things, but that's been really helpful, not only to like receive the coaching weekly on just these little micro moments that are coming up as we're building our businesses, but also for me, a huge value in that is seeing other people being coached. Like if Mandy throws out a question to Rachel, like I get to watch that unfold, and I might have not thought of that question, but if next week or in a month from now, I'm thinking through that thing, I sort of have that conversation in my mind and can absorb the lesson. Like we're learning collectively as opposed to just individually. So we get the benefit of not duplicating errors or like mistakes. Like we get to sort of learn from where we're all at in the program. I think that the curriculum has been good on the reflection side, really clarifying offer. This month, I'm digging more into like the content strategy in the later parts of the workbook. So that's something I'm actually diving deeper into now because I think I needed some more mindset work first. But that, and then just the community aspect, I think the accountability, and also I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. Like my friends all have 9-to-5 businesses. This is very new for me in terms of community. I don't know a ton of people that do this. So for me to have a community of other women that are in that same space, and I don't have to sort of explain myself, like why I care about this or why I want to do it. We can sort of dig in together and find that support. So I really like the format and structure has been good for me. Like I was exploring working one-on-one with a coach before this. And while I think, of course, that in that universe, it could have been good, the community piece has been way more valuable than I ever thought it could be. Plus to have the curriculum and the guidance there too.
Nice. Mandy?
Yeah, I agree. I think when we're thinking about the weekly coaching sessions, the number of times, like I have my tabs, we started early January, and as I turn the page on my main goals for the week, whatever I bring to the coaching always seemed like an impossible mountain to climb. Like this is a really thorny problem. And then we talk about it in the coaching. I get input from the community and support ideas, in the chat or whatever from these other ladies who have been not in that exact situation, but something closer, have feedback or ideas. And I have been meeting all of my weekly goals, which is incredible. I wasn't doing that when I was, floating out there on my own. And here I am, type A, I can do this myself kind of person. And no, actually, we really are better when we're in community and when we have somebody who can actually answer tough questions and kind of point, turn and point me in the right direction, and off I go. And then the coursework is just great to go back. I've old school. I printed the whole thing out and put it in a binder. And so I'm scribbling on it and like journaling on it and circling and putting like colored Post-it notes on it to come back. And I've torn out certain sheets, taken out. I have my, my momentum cycle, printed out, and I keep it in my journal page. And like, and I actually pulled out the reshaping my thoughts and explained that to my sister over the weekend, right? Like it just kind of seeps in and becomes part of kind of your worldview. I mean, it's as you're learning and observing this stuff. So having, it coming in from 3 different places, I think has really helped solidify for me how it's doing. And I'm really absorbing it. I'm really taking it in and enjoying it. And I feel like it's helping a lot.
That's so great. I often talk about the community as this collective genius because I feel like the group is always comprised, like each cohort is comprised of a group of individually very impressive women who are smart and talented, and each are coming to the table with their own experiences and professional history and personal stories. And together, like, it really does create this very dynamic, warm, safe place for, as you described, Mandy, those thorny problems, the moments that feel really tough and insurmountable, as well as a place to celebrate each other and to really feel the sense of support from others, not just myself, but from each other. So that's a joy for me to watch as the facilitator and the coach, and also in my own coaching program that I'm a part of. It's also one of the highlights. So I do want to dig into your wins. As you know, we always celebrate on our calls. This is one of the things I do with all of my clients. I just think the more we celebrate, the more we fuel the energy that creates those positive results. And each of you has just had such fantastic success in a short period of time. And I would love for you to share with people what that has looked like. Megan, you mentioned making $2,000 in the first 2 years of your business. You've now been in real momentum for 2 months. Tell us where you're at.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as I mentioned, about 2 years on my own, just not was word of mouth, generated about $2,000 in revenue. Yeah, not really investing in the business. I was paying for a website, but so far in 2 months, assuming I had a meet and greet this morning with the client, so I'm going to assume that they sign on. But assuming that positively, I've made about $3,000 in 2 months, from compared to $2,000 in 2 years. So that definitely, I think, speaks for itself. And that's been 4 clients, again, potentially 5 moving forward. And not only that, but I would say the wins of just consistency of posting on LinkedIn, which is where I've been advertising. Actually, the client this morning, she found me on LinkedIn because she was searching for career coach and saw how I branded myself and my offer. And she was like, oh, that's me. And that's how she found me. So it's been fun to see my client base expanding beyond my own professional circle, which is what it was before. Yeah, so I've updated my website, which was a huge barrier for me before. It was something that I never felt like I could quite get my mind around. So I kept it simple, really revamped it as a part of my January goal. And that contributed to, it was like 1 client that signed in January, and then it's been almost 4 in February. So if I look at that trajectory, just based on those changes, I'm really excited for what the next few months will bring as I get a handle and see that traction and keep moving forward. But yeah, so those are some of the observable wins, but I would say that the mindset pieces that we've talked about have been really instrumental to do that. And so I feel like I'm showing up more. And the crazy thing is too, like we've talked about, it's not that I'm spending, because I work a 9 to 5. It's also not that I'm spending like 30 additional hours of my week on this. I'm just being strategic and intentional, and it's still generating the results I want. So as I work toward the goal of being able to quit my daytime job, I'm gaining that evidence and the numbers and the financial security to say, no, if I truly want to take this leap, I'll be able to do that. So yeah, lots of wins that have come up the last 2 months.
That's phenomenal. I love that you talked about the being strategic and intentional. How much time would you say you spend on your business on a weekly basis? That's so good for people to hear, because I think
to actually give the numbers.
I'm going to start my business, but I have a full-time job, or I have another side gig or whatever. And I don't even know if I have time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say probably between 8 and 10 hours a week. Now that I've got more clients, I would say most of that is client time or meet and greet. So that's usually 4 to 5 hours a week, plus some prep time, of course, getting ready for those meetings. The other time has really just been time on LinkedIn writing posts and sort of content creation, or investing in the curriculum and the workbook and our coaching. So overall, it has not felt like it's taken over my life. I still see my girlfriends on Tuesday night. I still have been going to the gym, and actually I had a problem last week where I was I have too many clients. I'm missing my gym time because I have so many clients to meet with. And it was just really fun to have. It was a good problem to have. But yeah, so I'm still entering a phase now where I'm okay, as I manage more clients when do I want to be strategic about when I meet with them and how. But yeah, I would say probably around the 10-hour a week mark at this point.
Amazing. Okay, congratulations to you. It's going to be really exciting to see your growth over the next several months and, of course, into the years to come. Mandy, tell us about your wins and what you've been celebrating.
Yeah, so since I started, I definitely made back my initial investment in about 4 months last year. So just from raw numbers, and that was from when I first started. I had no clients at all, right? So I had to start somewhere, and I finished out the year. I actually was so pleased in January because I'm going to file taxes for federal income tax. I actually made more than I spent. Yay! Which sounds silly, but I was pretty proud of that because I literally invented something out of nothing, and it was just a terrific achievement for me. I have several ongoing clients that I'm working on in different things for residential organizing projects. I tend to I just I want to take my time with them and make sure that I get it right rather than hustling. I'm in a very different life space. I mean, I have the 2 teen kids, and so we have all the COVID schooling and all those kinds of things that are going on at the same time. So really, this can't be, even though I don't have another job outside the house, I probably spend 20 hours either with clients or with working on something with my business or whatever. But there are a whole lot of other intangible things or achievements that I've done. Like Megan mentioned the website. I'm redoing my website. I'm filling out the paperwork to start work with the lady that I'm working with, and just that whole process and wrapping my head around all the things I want, clarifying again for myself, my brand and who I am and what makes me unique and what my ideal client looks like, and all those things that I actually have in my toolbox that I'm taking out and brushing off and making sure are exactly what I want, what I am. And I'm right in line with myself. And that, I think, is an enormous achievement considering, a year ago, I was very scattershot. I was looking at all sorts of different people who were doing the similar type thing. And do I want to be like her? Do I want to be like him? Or do I want to be like anybody? I want to be me. I want to be doing what I want to do and embracing that. Gosh, again, I wish I'd come to it faster, but I really, really enjoy it. And I'm really just digging into that whole process and having fun with it. So the intangibles are, the clients that tell me, the one lady says every time I see her, I'm an angel. I'm an angel who comes to her house and helps her. And I just think, what a gift to be able to go and literally help somebody with something that does not freak out or overwhelm me at all. And to her, it's just like a balm. And I love that. But then I still get the challenge of the photo organizing piece and working with computers. I get to define whatever I want. So my successes go far beyond being able to file income tax, right? It's also all the pieces of being here for the kids, like the kid that I have one that came home sick today with a bad headache, and I'm here and I can care for them, and that I just wouldn't be able to do if I was still in the corporate world. And so there's a lot of really good things about running your own business and doing it your way, and I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you, Mandy. It's been a
Thanks.
fun year watching you grow. Anything else you ladies want to share? This has been such a rich conversation and so insightful, like hearing about your experiences, not just in Real Momentum, but also just this carrying around a vision and a passion and an excitement about going off on your own for so long and then finally doing the thing. It's just been really wonderful to hear more of your stories and to be able to share that with my community. So I'm really grateful that you have joined me today. Any last words that you want to share?
I think I'll just jump in closing to say, I think just also the energy around this type of work is so different from my 9 to 5 job. Like just the energy I bring to it is different. Like the wins feel bigger, the challenges feel more meaningful. Just it's been so much fun. And I think that that's, I know, a question that you ask a lot about, Rachel, like, well, what if, like, I'm like, oh, this feels so hard and difficult. You're like, what if it was fun? What if it was easy? What if it happened sooner than you expected? Like just that mental work of reminding ourselves that our brains are really good at thinking about what could go wrong, but we're not really good about what could go right. And I think as I've like taken this step, like that first step of trying to find the clients or build your business always feels really scary. But like Mandy was saying, like I have a client that I just finished working with, and she was kind of, in her own words, like, you're an angel. Like she was just so lit up by the work we were doing together. And then I was feeling really lit up, and it was just this mutual like light up moment in our work. And I think that's been for me as like a people pleaser, sort of heart-centered entrepreneur too. Don't even want to say people pleaser, like I'm shedding that, but just knowing too that like not only do I get to benefit, but like by stepping into this, like we're helping other people too. Like, and I think you talk about that, Rachel, is like the give and get model. But that's something that's been really coming back around, is like, oh no, like people are truly benefiting from the work that I'm doing. And that helps reinforce why I'm doing this, as like in addition to what I want for myself and the life I want to create. So that's been something that's been really powerful to sort of see play out in myself. Like I get to like generate the income and time flexibility that I want. And then I also get to see people stepping into what they want to do next. And that's been so really beautiful. So yeah, I wouldn't, like Mandy said, I wouldn't choose anything else. Like I couldn't see myself walking away from this, because it's just been so energizing and fulfilling. So thank you, Rachel, for all the work you do too.
Oh, thank you. Such a gift. And I love that you said that, right? Like I actually call it a big hot love fest when you have those magical client moments where like they're shining and you're shining and everyone's all happy and winning and feeling supportive. And yeah, so here to more big hot love fest. Mandy, anything that you wanted to close with?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say thank you, because you have, when I started working with you, I really didn't know the mechanics. I didn't know how to define what it was that I wanted. I knew what I wanted, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And you have just been incredibly patient and steady and persistent in turning it back around to have me answer those questions for myself, right? Because my brain keeps telling me, like Megan referred to, our brains are great at telling us that, ooh, this isn't safe. Ooh, maybe you need to wait and have somebody, give you permission to do this or whatever. And so I will ask you for that, and you will turn it back around on me time and again and make me do it for myself, which is exactly what is needed, right? It's really powerful. And as I see myself evolving through this and helping more people and adding to what I can do and feeling more comfortable in my space, it all resonates so deeply that yeah, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And this life is allowed to be fun. Work is allowed to be not a drudge, right? Like for a long, long time, I was just, getting the paycheck and living for the weekend. And I love what I do now. So I just thank you for helping me figure out how to do that for myself.
Such a pleasure. I love it. Thank you. Okay, I would love for you to share where you are, your website, your social handles. Where can people find out more about each of you? Mandy?
So I'm on mainly on Facebook as Mandy Truby Thomas. I also have a business page, Rethink Organization. And from there, I'm at rethinkorganization.com. Going to be launching a new version soon. And so yeah, Mandy Thomas RO is my handle in various places. So look me up.
Awesome. Megan?
Yes, so the two places I can be found will be on my website and on LinkedIn. So my website is careerdork.com, and on LinkedIn it's under my name, Megan Pritchett, although I'm thinking that might be a goal to get a LinkedIn page for Career Dork soon. So for now, it's just my name, MEGANPRITCHETT. So yeah, I'd love to, if anyone's watching wants to connect and talk more, I'd love to. But yeah, those are the two places.
Amazing. Megan and Mandy, thank you again so much for being here. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and I'm really excited to be able to share your stories with our community. And for anybody that's watching, Real Momentum doors open this week. We are enrolling for our next cohort beginning at the end of March, and this is what is possible for you inside of this container. I can't wait to support you in your growth, to connect you to this collective genius that we create in each of these cohorts, and really give you the step-by-step process to grow your business simply, joyfully, and meaningfully. It is a really, really fun journey inside Real Momentum, and it's time to join us. All right, right now. So with that, thank you again, and we'll chat soon. Bye, everyone.
Let's reach